Hey, what's up everybody? It's Dudley here. I just wanted to shoot you this video to give you an overview and an understanding of this new law. Well, not new law, but it's going into effect right now, called the Corporate Transparency Act. This is real. You may have heard about this online. Anybody who owns a business needs to be able to report to the Department of Treasury, the Bureau of Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, right? FinCEN. You got to report to them exactly your business and who owns the business. This is what they call the beneficial ownership information report, right? So that is a requirement and it's due this year. And what this is in 2021, Congress, they passed the law, right? And what they want to do is to fight money laundering and illegal activities. Basically, they need to snoop around and know who owns what, right? So they can enforce things and they can track the money. There's a lot of money been moving. There's a lot of fraud that's been happening. They need to know exactly what's going on and who owns what. There's a lot of money laundering. There's a lot of terroristic activities. They want to start tracking things, right? So this mandates that companies established or registered in the United States must provide information about the individuals who have ownership or control over the entities. They need to know who owns what, right? The next thing is to comply. You're obligated to submit a report containing beneficial ownership details to Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. You hear FinCEN. This is a part of the Treasury Department, right? The IRS. They need to track everything. So this is the law right now that needs to get done. So what type of companies are required to submit a report on this beneficial ownership information? You got two types. One, a domestic company, right? And a domestic company would means a corporation. So if you have a C Corp or an S Corp, you got to file this. If you have an LLC, you got to file this. And if you set up or establish with the state or county, like you set up a business, like you got a DBA or anything like that, if you filed anything with the state or the county, yeah, you need to file this as well. Foreign reporting agency, company, I'm sorry. It's a company or LLC that's created in a foreign country, basically, right? That's what it is. Now, what do the reports contain? They contain information about the reporting company, which is the business itself. So whenever you hear the reporting company reference, that means that's the business itself, right? The beneficial owners, this is the people who own the business. So a beneficial owner would be the individual who owns or controls at least 25%. So if you're a 10% owner, this really doesn't apply to you. But if you own 25% or more of the company, you got to do this, or has substantial control over the company. I'll explain about substantial control in a second. And company applicants, this is an individual who directly files or is responsible for filing the documents that creates or registers the company. So if you got with somebody who created the company for you, well, that person would be considered the applicant, right? Now, substantial control. Now, reporting companies are required to identify all individuals who exercise substantial control, right? So if anybody in your company exercises substantial control, we're going to need that. There's no limit to the individuals who are reported. You got to report everybody. And what a person who has substantial control is a senior officer, the CEO, COO, the people who are senior in that position, individual who has authority to appoint or remove officers, individual who it's an important part of the decision-making process. So whoever can make decisions at the company has substantial control, and an individual that has any other form of substantial control with the company. So basically, if you basically control what's going on in the company and you own more than 25%, you're required to file this, right? What information do you need to have? It's not a lot of information that they need. They just want to identify who owns what. So from the reporting company itself, your company, what they're going to need is the name of your company, right? If you have a DBA, they want to know the DBAs. They want to know all the DBAs that your company uses. They want to know the company address, right? What state your company was formed. And if it's for a foreign company, they need the state or jurisdiction that the company was first registered, right? They want to also know your tax ID number or your EIN number, right? For the beneficial owner, what they're going to need is the full name, your first, last name, middle name, all of that. They're going to need your date of birth. They're going to want to know your address, right? And they're going to want to know, they want to have some identifying information like a driver's license number, and they're going to want a copy of that, right? So it's pretty much simple. Your name, date of birth, copy your ID, and where do you live right now. What do you need from company applicants, right? Now, company applicants, they're going to ask the same thing that we just asked for the beneficial owner, the name, date of birth, the address, and some ID. But The thing is, for a company applicant, we don't have to worry about that if you formed your company before January 1st, right? So if you formed it before January 1st, 2024. So if you had your company established before this year, this January 1st that just passed, then company applicants doesn't apply to you. You just need to know the company, the reporting company, which is your company's information, and your information as the beneficial owner. Anybody else is a company applicant. You don't need that. So remember, a company applicant was somebody who helped you file the company and get the company set up. Now, after January 1st, 2024, if you go and create a new company, then you'll need to have you'd have to report the company information, which is the reporting company, your information as the beneficial owner, and the company applicants, whoever helped you, right? That's maybe aside from you, right? If you'd be the company applicant and the beneficial owner if you did it yourself. Now, are there any exemptions to filing this? Yeah, there's about 23 exemptions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a list of, I'm going to send you a document that they have that lists all of the exemptions, right? But one basic ones are companies that are already regulated, like publicly traded companies. They're already regulated. Insurance companies, broker dealers, there's certain accounting firms. Certain companies are already regulated. That's not necessary. Another major one would be large operating companies, right? So if your large operating company is somebody who has 20 or more full-time employees, somebody who filed an income tax returns and made more than 5 million last year, and a large company has an operating presence within the US, right? So again, I'm going to shoot you out a document that shows that if you want to look deeper as to the exemptions, but those are the basic ones. One more exemption is an inactive business exemption, right? So if you started your company before January 1st, 2020, right? You have to have started your business before you establish your business before January 1st, 2020. You're not doing business, you're not engaged in doing business. I know a lot of clients, they have LLCs they set up, but they never did anything with it, right? You haven't been engaged in doing business, you haven't been using it, it's just laying dormant, right? The entity is not owned by a foreign person, so an alien or somebody that's not a US citizen doesn't own that. And you didn't experience any change in ownership, so you didn't change ownership in that company, and you did not make more than $1,000 in the last 12 months. You didn't spend more than $1,000, and you didn't make more than $1,000 in the last 12 months, and you don't have any assets in the company, right? So you don't own any, like for example, we have clients who own real estate, and you own real estate under your LLC. So if you own real estate under your LLC, then you're gonna have to file it. But if you didn't own any company, no assets, there's no cars, no real estate, there's no assets under your LLC, then that's not that allow you to have an exemption. So if you meet all of these criteria, then you're good to go. You don't actually have to file that. You won't be penalized. But if you don't meet any one of these things, then you're gonna have to file it. So for sure, if you created your company after January 1st, 2020, for sure you'll have to file it, right? If you did any type of business, for sure. All right, so just be mindful of that. Any other questions, you can always reach out about it. And also in the document we attached, they have more information on that. What's the deadline? The deadline to do that is if you were established before January 1st, 2024, you already established a company, you're required to submit this report by January 1st, 2025. So by next January, you have until next January to actually file this report, right? So, I mean, you don't got to I know a lot of clients are calling and they were kind of scared, like, oh, I got to do this before I get penalized. But you have until next January 2025 to do that, right? But you want to make sure you get done because the penalties are hefty, right? But if you had established it before, started your company before January 1st, 2024. Now, anybody who after January 1st, 2024, up until next January 1st, 2025, anybody who establishes a company, you have 90 days after you establish your company in order to file this report, right? So this year, they're giving you a leeway of 90 days. If you would go and establish a company tomorrow, you have 90 days to go and file this information report to them so they know who's the owner, right? Now, if you were anybody after that, after January 25th, 2025. Next January, you got to do it in 30 days. All right. So right now, anybody that had their company before January 21st, January 1st, 2024, yo, you can take care of that up until next January. Anybody who starts a new business now this year, you have 90 days to do it. Anybody who starts a business after January 1st, 2025, you got to do it within 30 days. Right? What's the penalties for failure to file the beneficial ownership report? If you do not file this report or you provide fraudulent information on this report, they're going to give you a $500 per day penalty. So if you do not file this report on time, they're going to give you a $500 per day penalty. This is not baby stuff. This is heavy money that they're going to charge you. They can charge you also a $10,000 fine, and they can lock you up for 2 years. So you can get locked up for 2 years by not doing this. So this is serious. This needs to get done, right? If you try to file it, it was inaccurate, there was something wrong, you need to go back and fix something, they give you 90 days to do that without charging you a penalty. So that's a 90-day safe harbor. A senior officer of an entity that does not file it, you'll be held accountable if you're a senior officer of the company. So they will come after you for that in order to do that. In a situation where there might be partners, or you're relying on somebody in order to gather their information, because let's say for example you have a partnership and 50-50 owners, right? So both of you own 50% of the business, so that means you own a substantial share, you own more than 25%. You guys have to both file and put yourselves as the beneficial owners of that company. But if the other owner is not trying to give you any information, or they're not trying to provide their information so that you can file this report, you're going to be held liable and still be subject to these penalties. So we want to make sure that you don't play around with this, and you get everybody on board, and it is to their interest to make sure they file and report this, because there will be penalties and possible imprisonment by not doing it. All right. So how to file. So what you want to do is go to this website, boiefiling.fincen.gov, right? That's a government site, .gov. You go there, and then that's where you go and you file the report. You have again until January 1st, 2025 if you have started your company before January 1st, 2024. This is going to be in a centralized database, and they're only going to share that information on there with users for purposes of specified by law. So only the legal people, can go and get access to this. I also am going to include in here a quick reference guide and step-by-step instructions for you to be able to do that. If that's not something that you want to handle yourself, we could handle it for you as part of the process of doing your taxes. So you could discuss that with us if you need some assistance in getting that done. Now, I'm just going to give you and go run down just to give you a visual of what's included and how to do it. It is something that if you do have the time, it can be simple for you to do it yourself. And again, if you can't do it yourself, then we could assist you with getting that done. This is also on this report that I sent you, but I just want to go over it real quick for you, for the people that don't want to read and go through the stuff. Hold on one second. All right, I'm back. So what you want to have is your ID, right? There's a thing called a FinCEN ID. You're going to get this after you actually file it, but so if you ever come back to it and have this FinCEN ID, it kind of has your information, so you don't have to go and enter all the identifiable information again. So don't really worry about this, especially if everybody most likely is a first-time filer. You're going to make sure you have your ID with you and the ID of all the beneficial owners and the beneficial owners that you're going to be filing this with. So here's the step. You're going to go to boiefiling.fincen.gov, that website I gave you, and this is what it's going to look like, right? When you go into this website, you're going to say file BOIR, right? You'll click on that. And when you click on that, it's going to bring you to this page. You're going to say file online BOIR, say prepare and submit BOIR, click on that. And once you do that, you're going to say you agree, right here. And once you do that, this is the page you're going to be on. When you get to this page, you'll have these different tabs. On this tab, filing information, you're going to say the type of filing. You're going to put initial report, right? This is all going to be filled with the date that you're doing it. So you put initial report, next. If you are correcting it, then you would put corrected report, whatever, right? But right now, most likely initial report. So click that, click next. After that, they're gonna ask you this question. It's going to bring you to the next tab, say request to receive FinCEN ID. You could just click that one. If you are a foreign pooled investment vehicle, so you have people that are putting money together. A lot of times, foreign companies, they're putting money out here and they're investing in properties and stuff like that, and they create a company where they're pooling money to do that. So then you would click 4 if that's the situation for you. But for most other people, you'll just say request to receive FinCEN ID, and when you finish processing this application, they'll give you the FinCEN ID for you to have for your records, right? Then a legal name and alternative names, you're going to put the legal name and DBAs for the company, right? So put the legal name of the company right here after you put request FinCEN ID, what's the name of your company, and if you have any DBAs, you'll enter it right there. Then it's going to ask you for the identification type. You're going to say that, hey, I have either a tax ID number, EIN, or social. You'll enter the number there. You'll enter the country where you file that, right? They're going to ask you now the jurisdiction where you formed it, right? So you're going to enter the country. Then it's going to ask you the state where you formed it. Then you're going to put the current address of the company. Remember, this is the reporting company tab, so you're going to put the address of the company right there. After you put the address of the company, they're going to ask you for company applicants. If you already had it, like I was saying before, if you already had an existing reporting company, an existing company prior to January 1st, 2024, you'll click this. If you click this, it's going to tell you basically you don't have to fill out this form for company application because it's not required. The company applicants section is not required for people who filed who created a business prior to January 1st, 2024. That only applies to people who are just now starting a business after January 1st, 2024. So that's what they're going to tell you that, and then they're going to tell you, if selected, company applicant information is no longer required, and fields under this tab are cleared and disabled. So they're just not going to let you fill it out, right? And then if it was applicable to you, like you just set up a company this year and you had a FinCEN ID number, you could enter the FinCEN ID number if you already had one. If not, you're just going to go through entering the basic information. What's the legal name? You're going to put the address, your name, last name, middle name, date of birth, your address, right? If you are a company that's in the business of setting up companies for people or handling that, you don't necessarily have to use your personal address. You could use your business address if that's the business that you do. But other than that, it's going to be your personal information, your personal address if you are the company applicant. And remember, the company applicant is the people that help you with filing or creating your company, right? Next is, again, they're gonna need the ID of the company applicant, which is what kind of ID did they use, what's the document, what's the ID number on it, where like it was a New York State ID, for example, it's gonna be a New York State is the jurisdiction, New York State right there, tribal if that applies. Upload the copy of your ID because they want to make sure that it's you. And then if there's any other applicants, right, that assist, then you can enter that right here. They'll let you put up to 2 applicants, right? So you can enter if there's another one here, same information. Now we got the beneficial ownership information. So this is you as the owner of the company, and every owner in the company, especially that owns more than 25%. So you're gonna add beneficial owner. If you had a FinCEN ID, you'll enter it right there. If not, don't matter. If there is a parent, if one of the beneficial owners is a minor, then you will click here as a parent or guardian of the minor child that is a beneficial owner, and then you'll just enter your information there. You're gonna basic information again. It's just gonna be your name, date of birth, your address. That's what they're gonna be looking for. And what kind of ID you have. You enter your ID information, the type, the ID number, the jurisdiction, state, and copy of your ID. Upload that. And if you have anybody else, you'll just add more if there's anybody else that's a beneficial owner in that company. So they want to know everybody that owns a piece of that company. After you do that, you're going to be getting ready to submit it, right? You submit into your email, confirm your email, first name, last name, agree, click here, says I'm human, then submit it. After you submit it, you're going to be processing, and after they're finished processing, you'll get this confirmation. And when you get this confirmation, download the transcript so you have all that information, save it for your records, so you could, you know, have that anytime if you ever need to provide proof. You can see right here it says reporting company FinCEN ID right there. So if you needed to come back and let's say update or anything, then you could just take this FinCEN ID, and in the places where they said to add your FinCEN ID, you add your FinCEN ID, so it already has your information there. That's pretty much what it takes to go out there and process this. Again, if you have an LLC, if you have an S Corp, a C Corp, or if you filed a DBA and you got a tax ID, you filed and registered a company, this is something that you have to do. And you have, if you set up your company before January 1st, 2024, you got to get this done by next year, by January 1st, 2025. There's some hefty penalties. You want to get that done. If you have a dormant company, I would suggest you just dissolve that company. Just avoid any issues. So everybody who has a dormant company and you qualify for that exemption for not having to file it, I would probably just dissolve it if you're not going to be doing nothing with that business, you know, to avoid any issues coming in, because you want to be able to show that you didn't have any activity. Now, if you really can show that you had no activity, you didn't make no money, you didn't spend no money, you didn't do anything, then, you know, you could leave it. You put yourself up to risk, you know what I'm saying, by not just dissolving it and having to deal with it, but you qualify for the exemption. So, you know, it is what it is. Some people like to keep it there until they're ready to do something with it. And I can't fight that strategy. I understand what you're trying to do there. So if you have any questions, I just wanted to make sure that you had this, and you know, we can assist, again, we can assist you with this, or you can do this by yourself to get it done, as long as you get it done. All right, you have a good one.